I'm so sorry I didn't see you there. I'm so into my book and I'm so close to finishing it. It's so good, honestly. If you're looking for something to read during lockdown and you're looking for something new that you want to maybe get mum or dad to buy, these are brilliant, okay? This has really given me a good insight to what life would be like, or been like, in Poland as a Jewish boy in World War II. So that's the first one. And then there's 6 in the series in total. I'm now on number 4. Really excited to start number 5 later. So I'm determined I'm going to finish this one today. But anyway, before I get carried away with my reading, here is today's English learning intention. So, can I summarise what I have read in note form? So pause the video now, get yourself a notepad ready and write down the date and the learning intention, and then press start when you're ready to move on. Okay, before we move on to today's lesson properly, I want you to do a grammar question for me based on formality. So we started to look at formal language last week and ways of making our writing more formal. So have a look at this question here. Which sentence is the most formal out of those 4? See if you can work out what it is. Press pause, have a read of them, and then restart when you're ready to look at the answer together. Okay, hopefully you've all said that you think that the team were defeated due to mistakes that they made is the one that is the most formal. If you did, then thumbs up, you would be correct. Quite often you can hear it when you read those out loud. Okay. Something I wanted to mention on Friday but forgot, no, Monday even, see, I filmed it on Friday. Something I wanted to mention yesterday's lesson was that contractions, so wasn't, they'd, and would've, are ways of making our writing more informal. They're what we tend to use when we're doing dialogue in stories, because when we speak we tend to use contractions rather than putting it in full. So was not would be what it would be in full, and wasn't is the contraction. Okay, so we've taken the O out, put the apostrophe there to show where that letter's been omitted. Okay, they would be they had, and would've would be would have. Now, quite often children in writing, because would've sounds a little bit like would of, and tend to write this in their writing instead of have, which is what it should be. Okay, now look at the last one here. This is the most informal partly because of the language it's using. So we've got defeated. We could have said the team lost due to the mistakes that were made, okay, but were defeated is a more formal way of saying it. Something you may have heard of before, I'm trying to remember whether I've taught it to my class yet or not, is about passive verbs, or passive voice as it's sometimes called, which is made up of the verb to be and then the past participle of the verb, so defeated in the past tense, okay, and that's called passive, and that's another thing that's quite commonly used in formal writing. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an insight into formality a little bit more. I did say to you, don't start on the research, because that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so if you look on the blog, once this is finished, once you finish watching this, it's been a while since I've had to do this, okay, if you look on the blog, there are a list of suggested websites for each of the different areas of World War II that you can choose from. Okay, of course there may be other websites that you might want to look at. Just be a little bit careful with things like Wikipedia, because information on there is not always 100% correct. In fact, it's always good to look at more than one website and cross-reference those facts, okay, to make sure that what you're including in your report when you come to write it is true. And there goes my laptop that's gone to sleep. Oh, woken it up again. Okay, I'm going to go off screen now and go to my laptop so I can model to you how I would take notes on this from this website. Okay, see you in a moment. Okay, so the first thing I want to do really is have a read of the text. Okay, so I'm just going to read this first bit to you. In January 1940, the British government introduced food rationing. The scheme was designed to ensure fair shares for all at a time of national shortage. The Ministry of Food was responsible for overseeing rationing. Every man, woman and child was given a ration book with coupons. These were required before ration goods could be purchased. Basic foodstuffs such as sugar, meat, fats, bacon and cheese were directly rationed by an allowance of coupons. housewives had to register with particular retailers. So I've read that and I'm thinking, right, what's the important information in that, okay? And I think the date, January 1940, I think if I'm writing a report on rationing, people would want to know when rationing perhaps started, okay? So I'm going to put Jan 1940, maybe dash, food rationing introduced. You'll notice I'm not writing in full sentences here. I'm just doing note form, okay? Because if I was to copy full sentences from this document, then I'm more in danger of using those sentences in my own writing, and it won't be my own writing, okay? Because I'm going to take my notes and I'm going to produce a report of my own using my own sentences. So I'm less likely to be tempted to use what they've written word for word, okay? So the scheme was designed to ensure fair shares at a time of national shortage. So we want national shortage maybe, and fair share. So that tells me when I look back, I've read it, I've understood it, I look back and I know that there was a shortage of food, and in order to make it fair for everybody, they introduced the rationing, okay? The Ministry of Food was responsible for overseeing rationing. Every man, woman and child was given a ration book with coupons. So I'm going to make it clear that everyone given ration book. Okay. And then my next point might be basic food stuffs such as sugar, meat, fats, bacon and cheese were directly rationed by an allowance of coupons. Okay, so I have had a coupon allowance for sugar, meat, fats, bacon and cheese. Okay. Housewives had to register with particular retailers. I'm not entirely sure that I'm interested in that actually for my report, so I'm going to leave that, but you might feel differently if that was what you'd chosen to do. Scroll down. So we had coupons for those items, but for other items such as tinned goods, dried fruit, cereals and biscuits, there was a point system. So I'm going to put that. Oh, I did. Tinned goods, dried fruit, cereals, biscuits. Okay, and the number of points allocated changed according to availability and consumer demand. So you could put points dependent on availability and demand. Okay, because we imported a lot of food from abroad, and the Germans did their best to stop that, so the amount that we received in this country was far less than what we were used to having. Okay, and then lastly, priority allowances of milk and eggs were given to those most in need. So children and expectant mothers, priority for milk and eggs. Okay, so there's a few of my notes there for those first few bits, and then I would probably look at maybe another website and see if there's any information I can add to that. I'm obviously using sort of almost like bullet pointed notes. I haven't got bullet points there. I am using kind of a list of notes, but you might prefer to do like a spider diagram, okay? You might even start to organise your notes into sort of like sections. So thinking ahead to what maybe your subheadings and your sections might be, you might start to already arrange your notes in that way, okay? Actually, if you're working on the computer, it's sometimes just nicer to be able to type them in and then you can rearrange them at a later date. But the important thing about note taking is it's got to be what works best for you. You're the one that's going to be using that to write your report from. Okay, so there's no right, wrong way of doing it. We all like different ways. The important thing is not to use full sentences, But to really summarise, so that's why it's important to read it first, really understand what it is you're reading, and then make the notes. Not start making notes as you're going through and by sentence, because then all you're doing is probably just end up copying a lot of the stuff down. Okay, so there's my tips on how to do note taking. Today, then, you need to choose which area of World War II you're going to write about. You need to take notes on that. Now those are my notes just for a very small section, okay? I'm going to have lots of notes I'm going to take. So you need to be thinking of not just having a few notes on your page. That's not going to be what's going to help you write. And ideally, what you don't want to be doing is referring back to websites at the point where you are writing your report because you find you haven't got enough information, okay? So spend a lot of time getting that research done, getting those notes down, so that tomorrow when we come back, we are ready to go to the planning stage and transferring our notes into a plan, okay? Anyway, good luck. Hopefully you're getting all right. Hopefully you'll find it really interesting to read up. And we already know a bit about rationing and evacuation, but hopefully you will learn even more by doing that research. Okay? And we will see you tomorrow. Back to my book. Bye.